My name is Mark Sharpe. I'm currently a county commissioner. Hillsborough County, there's 7 county commissioners. I'm one of the 7. I was born here in Tampa, Florida. Born at MacDill Air Force Base. My dad was in the Air Force. 28 years in the United States Air Force, career man. I went to local schools, traveled a bit. I went to high school actually in Oklahoma. My wife is from Nebraska, so we have learned to hate Oklahoma. Hate's a strong word. We're always against Oklahoma football, though Nebraska's now shifted over to the Big 12. But my wife's from Nebraska, met her here, tell that a little bit later. Came back after graduating from high school and went to Florida State University. Got a degree in multinational business, and Jordan went to FSU, and then minored in Russian. And from there, went into the United States Navy, where I served as an intelligence officer. I was with an A6 squad on my first tour out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, and assigned to the USS Independence and the USS Forrestal. Had a chance to travel all over the world and had a blast. Came back and went to CENTCOM, worked at U.S. Central Command. Became a briefing officer. From there, I went to the Pentagon, where I served as a briefing officer as well. Worked for the Chief of Naval Operations and did intel briefings and such. And I really had a good time. For those of you who are thinking about the military, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. But I wanted to serve. I was committed to serving. From a young age, at 8, I knew I wanted to get involved in politics. I was watching the elections, following the returns. I was always fascinated by the concept that power rested in the hands of the citizens who got to make really important decisions. And that you would vote for people who would then serve in office and, good or bad, make important decisions about our country. And that oftentimes power could transition from one office holder to another in a peaceful fashion. When I grew up, the world was a very violent place. At times it is today. The Cold War was hot between the Soviet Union and the United States, between freedom, between good and evil. And to me, what communism represented was evil. It was about using power to oppress people, to take away their freedoms. We take it for granted, you take it for granted, I take it for granted at times that everybody enjoys freedom, and that's not always the case. And even today, our freedom is under assault. And even today, we could lose it. And in fact, the hope for retaining it rests with you guys. My prayer that we are able to keep the freedom that we've got is going to rest and reside not with my generation that's currently in power or running businesses, but with you all. When I was at the Pentagon and made the decision to run for office, I ran for Congress. Now, you probably never heard of Sam Gibbons, but at the time, Sam Gibbons was a 30-year incumbent. Had been in office for 30 years, one of the most powerful men in the United States Congress, 435 members of Congress, 100 in the United States Senate. And that's where I wanted to go. And everybody told me, you are making an enormous mistake. Nobody knows you. You don't have any money. You've never run for office before. You can't possibly win. But I knew in my heart that that's where I was supposed to be, Washington, serving as a member of Congress. And I was going to win. So I came home. I had just gotten my master's out at USF, got a bunch of students to go out and work with me. They were all Democrats, all liberal Democrats. They didn't even know, half of them, that I was a Republican or a conservative. They just thought it was cool that I was running for office. And so we started running. And it was fun. And I got laughed off. I would go and speak and talk about wanting to run and be the next congressman, and people just kind of snickered and laughed. And I kind of got used to being laughed at. Because when you decide you're going to do something, especially something big, and you go tell your parents, I told my family I'm going to run for Congress, they thought I was nuts. The girl I was dating at the time, her parents, they thought I was crazy. They gave me some money to run, but they thought I was just completely off my rocker. You're giving up your Navy career. You're going to quit your job and come back to Tampa with nothing, you know, I didn't even work at the time, just to run. I said, yeah, because I believe in it that much. I ran, and I lost. It's funny. I thought it was good. I was like, Jordan's had great laughs. We talked about it oftentimes, about the running and losing. I ran and I lost. I lost, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm not supposed to lose. The plan was I was going to win. And I had, you know, where am I going to go? Well, I was actually sitting here. I had been invited by a friend who attended this church, and he said, you ought to think about working at this school. They have a school here. And I said, sure. And I applied for a job, and you know who I applied to? It was Miss Melly. At the time, it was D. Jordan. Or no, it was Melly, now Jordan. Mm-hmm. She hired me, so she was responsible. Her and her, at the time, staff. Yeah. You should apply. I should apply. Let me tell you, it's amazing how things work out. I mean, God is so incredible. God, you know, I was looking at Drudge Report. I'm getting ready to veer off now. Sarah, so you have to bring you back. I go to Drudge Report often to get my news. I carry my iPad everywhere. Anybody who has the iPad? You got to have one of these. This is fantastic. I can Twitter and do my Facebook, you know, from both my BlackBerry and my iPad. I love it. I love being connected 24/7. 24/7. Information at your fingertips. And I was looking at the Drudge Report. They're talking about this blob that they found 650 million light years away that's popping out planets. And Eric Larson, who also worked here, it's like a giant family of people who've been with me, but Eric, who worked here, who now works in my office, and now we're talking about 650 million light years. A light second is like, what, 100 Watson should know this. Where's the physicist around here? Dave, 170, 180,000 miles per second is a light second. 170,000 miles per second. So just figure 650 million light years. Traveling at the speed of light, it would take 650 million years to get to this blob that's spitting out new planets, which is just pretty cool. And it just tells you how awesome and big the entire universe is. And God, who created it all and has mastery over it all, can watch the entire universe and also is paying attention to every single one of us right here and is in control. And to me, that's just amazing. I don't have any great, wow, cool thing to say about how big it is and how small we are and what it all means, because I haven't figured it all out. But what I know is it's cool to be part of it. And when I ran and lost, I knew I was still part of something big. And back, because I'm going to zero back in, I come here and I work. And I'm thinking the whole time, what am I doing? Why am I here? I was supposed to be in Congress. I had a great job working in the military, doing what I loved, intel work. I had a future. I could have gone on into other things. But now I'm back here. Is this where I really want to be? And when the administration hired me, they said, you know what? We'd like for you to stay for 10 years. And I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind, I'm not planning on staying here 10 years. I'm going to be out of here. I'm running for Congress in 2 more years. I'm going to run again. I'm going to win. I'm going to Washington. So I ran for Congress. This time, unlike the last time, raised a lot of money, over $1 million for my campaign. We gave Sam a run for his money. I lost a second time by 1.5 points. I know, and I felt the exact same. On election night, everyone's sure, and I'm sure. Even though inside I'm still kind of real like, my gosh, am I actually going to now achieve what I've been put 4 years of my life in? Every day I talked about it. In class, history class is always fun in my class, because we talked about politics, we talked about running for office, we talked about everything but what was in the book. And actually, you know what? In a way, that's not too bad. Because we'll get to it later. You talk about truth and where truth is. It's not always one thing. We talked about a lot of things. close. And it's amazing how it all works, because when you're literally out running up the escalator, going to the victory party, and the cameras are all there, and the newscasters are all following you, and everyone's got a microphone in your face, it's kind of, for a moment there, it's kind of cool. You kind of forget, your priorities get all jumbled, because everybody's watching you. And you're going up, and you think you might be the winner. And I'm telling you, you walk in and the room's full, and we had a band playing and balloons every which way. And people are, gosh, can I get you a drink, Mr. Sharpe? You want a soda? And get everything I wanted. The second I lost, with the exception of a few people, the place clears out. There are no cameras following me down. I couldn't find my car. I had no idea where I parked. I was dying with thirst. My mouth was all parched from speaking and speaking and speaking. I couldn't get a drink. I find my car. I make it back here the next day. And I'm like, what a kick in the gut. So I run a third time. Because I'm a slow learner. I run 3 times, thinking third time's got to be a charm. You don't lose 3 times in a row at anything. This will be the great victory story. They come from behind. He ran 3 times in a row and won. Sam Gibbons, in fact, I was sitting in our office here, when I get a phone call from a reporter telling me that Sam Gibbons has retired. He'd been in forever. Our polling said we were going to beat him. Gibbons retires. A whole bunch of Democrats run for the seat. Former mayor, a guy by the name of Jim Davis. You've heard of Jim Davis? Well, he became the congressman because he won. He ran as a Democrat. I challenged him. And let me tell you, I raised more money than I'd ever raised. I had every Republican from Washington come down and help me out. Everyone thought I was supposed to win. At this time now, third time, he's going to sure win. We ran a tough, mean campaign. Mean, I mean hard TV spots, lots of direct mail that I wasn't proud of. A campaign I didn't like. I really didn't like the whole race. But I had all these people around me telling me, this is what you got to say. This is what you got to do. If you want to win. In fact, I had the conversation with my campaign manager who I hired from Rhode Island in this parking lot. And he said, are you prepared to do whatever it takes to win? And my answer was yes. I've lost. I don't want to lose them. Pretty much what I said. I shook his hand. I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. I get out of that car and I walk back into class to teach, about Christian values and truth and all those things. But I had pretty much conceded inside that I was going to take this race and do what I had to do. I wasn't proud of my campaign, and I got clobbered. I lost by 20 points. Wasn't even close. People who'd been my friends were embarrassed by the campaign I ran because of the TV ads. I mean, you just couldn't turn on the TVs. There, you turn it on, and there I would be attacking him, or a spot attacking him. And we've become very good friends. Now I'm back here directing traffic. The day after I thought I'd be in Washington making policy. Trying to figure out what on earth God had for me. I mean, I've tried 3 times in a row. I've lost. I'm not running again. It's done. It's what I wanted to do. It's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to be a congressman, not teaching history and whatever else they had me teaching and directing traffic. But I decided to do what I knew I was supposed to do. And that was celebrate. And it was hard. Jimmy Taylor, I don't know if you know Jimmy Taylor. The Taylor clan, there's a million of them. Jimmy Taylor came running in my office. I was upstairs over the gym. I don't know if that's still a classroom or not. I think now it's a gym. Weight room. We used to move weights all the time in there. Yeah, it's a weight room. But Jimmy Taylor came running up and he said, what are you going to do? You've just lost. I'm like, Jimmy, I have no idea. I was crestfallen. I'm not running again. It was the best thing that ever happened. I'm not saying that losing is always good, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Why? First off, I met my wife here. Hired her, actually. One summer, I'm working here, filling teaching slots. We needed a lot of teachers. The one slot we had covered, English. I had someone to teach the English class. I get a phone call, some voice I hear over the phone. Excuse me, do you have an English position? I'm interested in teaching. Do you have an English position? And I said, yes, we do, as a matter of fact. And I hung up the phone thinking, we don't have an English position here. Why did I say yes? Well, this person will never show up. They'll never come in. I don't have to worry about it. And sure enough, she walked in the door. I looked up. She said, do you have an English position? I said, yes. And we hired her. And then within 6 months, we were married. And within a year, we had a baby. And now we've got 3. A great family. You know, I was like, it doesn't always work that way, but it did. God had a plan. I had prayed. I wanted ready to meet someone, and I did. I ran for office again, but not the job I thought I wanted to do. I wanted to be in Washington making a big difference. Not, some people said, run for city council, run for county commission, run for the school board. Well, a job opened up, the county commission. And they needed someone to run, and I made the decision to run. Now again, I love public policy. I love government. How many people here, let's just start with broad and we'll kind of work our way in. How many people here like American history or government or our current events and affairs? Come on, don't be shy. The ones in the back are raising their hand. A few people, cool, good. Raise your hand, because everybody's got to love it. Everybody's got to love it. Let me tell you, when I was young, really young, and before middle school, and Nixon, who I'm sure you've heard of, was president. You talk about truth. Nixon had power. Nixon was president of the United States. And Nixon lied. And Nixon abused power. And as a result, the American people lost faith in our government and in our institution, and they began to question and challenge everything. Now, let me tell you, I've learned, as I've gotten older, not to trust like I used to question myself, everything. The only thing I don't question is the Bible. But other than that, I don't always take what I'm told. And I don't always believe what I hear. I want to check it and validate it. Because I want what Mr. Grable talks about, the truth. And when you abuse the truth, you do great damage to our country. It's not as if by breaking the rule, someone's going to come down and slap your hand and put you in jail, or you'll get it could happen, but more often than not, because we're not a police state, thank God, you don't have everybody chasing after you. You don't have administrators here running after you, making sure you follow the rules. It'd be miserable. They'd hate it, you'd hate it. So somewhere in there, honor and integrity have to mean something. And you've got to be willing to do what's right, even when everybody else is doing what's wrong. You've got to be willing to do the right thing. So the President of the United States, the most powerful person in America, now it's the Federal Reserve. Chairman of the Federal Reserve is probably the most powerful. But back then, the President abuses power. And the nation suffers. If you go back in our history and look at how we distorted right and wrong and made a case for slavery and said somehow that's okay and you can build a nation on slavery, our country has paid a steep price for that. Or in the 1930s and 40s and 50s and 60s with racism and Jim Crow laws, where we said it's okay to discriminate. Our country has paid a steep price for that. So I'm going to tell you all, my message is, that when Mr. Grable and others talk about truth and doing what's right, that's how we're going to see through the darkness that we right now are living through. When you see what's going on in Arizona, a 9-year-old girl is shot and killed. I mean, we're talking about a congresswoman being shot, which is bad, and her staff members, and people who just go into a town meeting. But a little 9-year-old girl, last name is Green, who had just been elected to the student council, is shot and killed. Doesn't have a chance. Talking with Mayor Iorio yesterday about this. And Mayor Iorio was saying, God, that's me. I was that 9-year-old. I love public policy. I was elected to the student council. I wanted to lead. And some mentally imbalanced individual with a gun takes her life. And you think, gosh, where's the light there? And I know there's light. And I know that, I don't have the answer I would have. I wouldn't even know what to say to the parent or to the others who suffer this. But I do know this. There's more of us than them. There are more of us who believe, who have faith in God and in doing right. There are more of us who believe in, I'm going to use a word that sometimes has been distorted, but tolerance. And by tolerance, I mean the willingness to be respectful and to listen to others, even if you disagree with them. It does not mean that you have to accept or to do what they say, but to just, in the course of a debate amongst people, to have a civil discourse. I think this country has got to get back to that. We're going to disagree, sometimes vehemently, but for those people who say, oh, you listen to Glenn Beck and others, and sometimes I find myself agreeing, and sometimes I find myself disagreeing. At times have never been like this. Read your history. Yes, they have been. From our founding, we have gone through troubled times. And from our founding, we've had great differences. But we figured out a way, even within the differences, to hold it together. And if our nation is to hold it together, and you all are to have a chance to have families and to do the things you want to do and to live long lives and in a world which is safe and free, I believe it's going to be absolutely essential that we figure out how we do the right thing, living our life based upon the truth as we know it, whether it's your honor code here or the Bible. You gotta live your life according to the truth. That's how we're going to convince those others out there that we sometimes can't seem to get them to understand or agree with. That's how we convince them. Not by lecturing them, not by, getting on them sometimes, but just by living your life the right way. I'm absolutely convinced that this nation is going to thrive and excel. And when I see you guys, I have tremendous hope. Because with the exception of a couple of the guys up here, y'all look pretty good. It's a good-looking group. I really have faith. I remember teaching, Mr. Grable Middle School, and wondering, what's going to happen to our country? And you know what? They've gone on to do great things. And I know that this group here, my wife teaches at Plant High School, and I've gone out to Plant and I've seen them, and you go out and you see the young people and you just know there is tremendous hope. We have our iPads, we have our new technologies, things are changing so fast. I can't keep up with it. I got to get my 14-year-old to explain how I turn something on or make it work. And the moment I figure it out, there's something new to replace it. So we've got the technology and all the information and all the things that are coming down at us. We ought to have and ought to be able to live in a great society. But the challenge we're going to face is not that we don't have all the neat things. Again, it's just going to reside with us. And what are we going to do with those things? And I hope and I pray, and I'll close here, that we do find a way to work together, to live together, and to honor each other. And that starts with honoring yourself. And that starts with where I think Mr. Grable, closed. And I'm so glad I heard you say this, because the honor code is so important. And truth is so important. And if you'll live by those things, I think that you'll honor him, and we'll all be blessed. With that, I'll close. Thank you.